So what were some of the biggest setbacks or challenges that you had during your recovery?
Yeah, there was definitely a couple times where you started to like wonder like how could it get any worse and like why would this, extra thing happen? Of note though, once I got home from the hospital, it was like I was maybe like a month out from getting out of Craig and I fell backwards in my chair, like I tipped over like wheelie style and I hit my head on the concrete pretty hard and I was like still super weak and like not really used to being in the chair and everything. So I like smashed my head pretty good and dealt with some like immediate brain swelling and trauma. So then I had to go back to the emergency room and deal with all that. And when I got there and they were like trying to check me out, they did some imaging on like my neck and head to make sure I was all good. And the old breaks on my neck, they thought that they had reopened, so they came in like while I was like, delirious from smashing my head, and they're like, "You broke your neck again," and I was like, "No way! How could this happen?" And luckily, it didn't. But I had to spend a couple nights in the Glenwood Hospital to get the brain swelling down and make sure that nothing went crazy there. But uh, no lasting effects that I know of yet, except I lost my sense of smell, which is not a huge deal, especially now that everybody from COVID's getting it. It's like it's whatever, nobody needs their sense of smell anymore.
Oh my gosh. Well, how was your mental state? Like, were you depressed or super hopeful that, things are gonna just be okay? Or where were you at during all of this?
I had so much support that there was no way that I could really get down because I had so many people that were willing to like help me stay up, and being around and just like offering support through the whole situation. So I kind of had no excuse to be that upset, but definitely it was a huge lifestyle change going from like uh really independent 19-year-old that was like away at college and working multiple jobs and like working, spending a lot of determined time on trying to be like a competitive skier and like all of the other projects that I was working on, and then like get shipped home to mom and dad's house and all you can do is like basically nothing. Like as far as exercise goes, when I first got home, I thought that there was like nothing that I could do, especially since when I was in the hospital, like I was still in a neck brace and like I was having nerve issues with my arms. So like I didn't really get to exercise that hard. So I was like, when I was at Craig, it was more about like surviving and getting home and like figuring out how to just like live day to day in the most simplest style. And then a couple months in to being home, I got a really great occupational therapist that took me under her wing, and she became like my trainer, my OT, my PT, my psycho coach, like everything. She and literally held my hand through like getting back to like real exercise or whatever you can do post injury. So that kind of opened up like my confidence to like trying new things, and like realizing that like when I first left Craig, they were like, you need to not do this, this, and this, and you need to only do this, this, and that. Just like kind of staying really cautious because you're still so fresh. But then after a certain amount of time passes, you kind of have to make the switch that says like, if it's not like actively hurting and it's not like actively causing a problem, then I kind of have to like push through whatever is uncomfortable because like nothing is going to be.
Shoot, we're losing you.
I'll try and get it to reset again. Sorry. Yeah.
I'm not sure if you can hear me, but that's one of the things that we want to do with Mods for Quads. Is what we're starting is, think that's so amazing. You had such a wonderful blessing of an occupational therapist, but for somebody that maybe doesn't get that type of service and is told what not to do, we're trying to have a central resource where they can kind of learn and kind of take healing into your own hands, because this is what y'all have had to do. You really have to, like, at some point make that switch from, well, this is my body, nobody knows it better than me, and I can learn to do things and I can make improvements, and I really just have to push myself a little bit to find out what my limits are. Is that kind of how you felt?
Yeah, and I would say that the community that you're trying to put together is exactly what needs to happen for new injuries. Like I definitely got the most um like meaningful advice from our from people that have had already experienced it. Like I got to talk to one of my quad buddies who's from Crested Butte, and he's actually like the only quad dude that I ever met pre-injury and like knew at some capacity. And he came to my hospital room when I was like getting ready to leave Craig, and he didn't even really try to give me a pep talk necessarily, but he showed up by himself and dealt with everything that he needed to deal with. You know, like for me at that point, seeing him like eat food by himself, I was like, okay, that it's like he's doing it. And right now it's so frustrating for me. And like, how could I ever understand, or like, how could I ever get myself to do what he's doing? And I could see that he wasn't doing it in like the able body format that I had seen before, you know? So it just like kind of opened my mind a little bit to like the like if you're super duper flexible, you can find, you know, ways to get a lot of stuff done that seems really insurmountable in the beginning. And that just kept happening as I went further and further into like the disabled community, you know. I imagine that Adam can speak kind of for a similar style of you guys, um, where you can meet other people that are, you know, it's obvious that they're struggling with their own things and then they're also succeeding with their own things. So it starts to feel like your levels of success and failure are just, you know, relative with
Mm-hmm.
everybody else's, even even people that aren't disabled. Just get this to catch back up. That seems to make a difference when I turn my camera off for a second.
Yeah, I should mute myself.
Hold on, Susan, you're on mute.
How much of your recovery, like when you're making progress with your physical healing, do you feel like a big chunk of it has to do with your mental state and just your being able to see yourself in new improved situations? Like you're like, I'm gonna do this and I'm just gonna keep trying, I'm gonna keep trying and keep trying to lift this pencil, and then eventually between your brain and your body, you make progress. Like, have you?
Yeah, there is some level to that. I would say that the attitude that has worked for me, and I don't know that I don't think that this is like a one size fits all thing, but I think that everybody has to have some similar level of realization. And another thing that I think Adam would probably agree with, and we might have even had this talk before, but it's an interesting, or the realization that I'm talking about is being motivated to get better and to like have the stoke to like learn something new or to do a new activity or like test your limits while not being bummed if it doesn't work out. Because the truth is that there are some things that like that are just insurmountable for the time being, like that you're just not, you know, like you could set up with these huge dreams, but like it's they have to be at some level of realistic, you know, but that doesn't make them any less big, if that makes any sense. So
No, I
like
totally get it. It's kind of a marriage between where would you be if you never even tried, and being humble enough to know, well, that is what it is, right? Like, I'm gonna keep trying and I could not try. So if I try, at least I don't know what I could find.
Sure, yeah, and I think that it's a good thing to it's a good mental state to have because it's something that you would wish for everybody, like able body and otherwise. Because if you apply it to other people's dreams, it's like you know you say that you want to go and do this thing, whatever it is, you want to be a pro baseball player, I don't know, you have to, in order to do that, you have to put your all to it and give it everything you got and expect to succeed. But you also need to be super stoked with yourself if you don't make it because of whatever reason, and not uh like, as long as you can say that you gave it your all, then there's no regrets and you don't have to be bummed about it.
Mhm.
So I kind of apply that to like small whatever tasks I'm trying to do. Set the goal, aim for it, give it your all, and if you get it, you like did everything you could.
Yeah. Do you feel like the SCI community is lacking in any way, or that there are certain resources that you use that you wish everyone had access to?
Yeah, of course. The situation with SCI and like and greater disability is that like you're kind of a small market, so we have like limited like limited pull and limited pool for everything. Like there's only so many options for wheelchairs because there's not that many people in wheelchairs in like the great, in like in the huge scheme of the world, and they're not that profitable to sell, and then same goes for everything that comes with it. So that's why I see huge benefit in these like smaller local things that we all do as being like a true heavy impact on somebody that can be really intimate, and you can know your friends and your your acquaintances and everything, you can know their needs, and if you can provide something that is lacking otherwise, then that's a a huge win in my book. And
Life changing for a lot of these people. Which, leading into that, tell us what you do.
for sure. So one of the things that is lacking, and not for any reason other than it's just not a um not something that you know the the larger community would think of necessarily, is the accessibility of the greater wilderness. And I don't think that that's something that could be solved by trying to make the outdoors accessible. I think that we kind of have to make ourselves adapted and modified to be able to access it. So that leads us to Return to Dirt, which is a nonprofit that raises donations and does fundraisers so that we can have off-road equipment that's fully adapted for a whole slew of different disabilities, and be as versatile as possible. And then we take that equipment and our know-how and our team, and we share it with everybody who is interested in having uh, like difficulty getting back into an area or a location or an activity that they're limited because of a physical mobility issue. So, for instance, to make it really obvious, if somebody is comes from mountain biking or comes from skiing or comes from dirt biking or any of these backcountry sports, uh, post injury, you're probably going to be limited to some type of um, disabled friendly vehicle, which is usually like a minivan or a sedan or maybe a full size van. But those are only so capable. And so, especially when you're based out of an area like the Roanoke Fork Valley that is just surrounded by all of this fantastic stuff, there's all these opportunities to get into the backcountry, but you either got to be able to walk yourself in there, hike yourself in there, cross country ski yourself, hike. There's you got to bike. All of these options to do it, but you have to be physically capable normally to do those things. So um, we bring the equipment and then the athlete brings whatever their interest or dream is, and then we make that happen on an individual basis. So if let's say, back to like, if you're a mountain biker and you want to get to this location that you used to bike at, or you just want to be in the same frame of mind that you used to be in when you were biking, you know, where you're heading out into areas that are less populated and they're natural, and you're moving quickly and you're choosing lines as you go, and it brings you back to that frame of mind, even though it's not necessarily the same activity. the the stimulus is similar, and then on top of that, we include families and friends and whoever the person wants with them, and that integrates the other positives that you remember from your mountain biking or your dirt biking or whatever. That when you go out, you're going out in a group and you're having a good time. There's like a huge level of camaraderie that comes with all of those activities, and we integrate that into our program as well. So when somebody like Adam says that he wants to come and ride with us, we're gonna bring Tanel, and we're gonna try and put Adam in the driver's seat if possible, or we're gonna be having Adam in the passenger seat with the T handle and watching the world come to him, and sort of visualize that you're moving through it and you're feeling the wind on your face and the dirt in your teeth. And it's a really hard thing to explain to somebody that doesn't have a passion for that, but it's a really easy thing to explain to somebody who did or and does have a passion for that like type of activity. And it's the best way that we've found um, to reinvigorate that part of our people.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Do you have any idea how many people you've served up till now, or do you not kind of keep track of that?
Well, so we usually try and go out with 30 different people a year. And our first year was a little less than that because we were just figuring out what we're doing. And then last year was just barely that because of COVID. So I expect that we'll do more than 30 this year, but over the season, there's quite a few repeat offenders, especially here in the Roaring Fork Valley where we have a pretty tight community of people that would want to go out. We're trying to meet up with them a couple times a summer and really make their experience like a something that they can sort of turn into a hobby almost.
Do you just take people that are in wheelchairs, or is it kind of anyone that struggles with neurological impairment?
So we left it vague on purpose because we want to be able to give it to as many people as possible, but you do have to go through an application process. And honestly, I just kind of get to know everybody who wants to go out and see what their attitude is and what their interests are and what their experience, like what their perfect experience would look like. And if we think as a team, myself and then the rest of the Return to Dirt team, if we think that their attitude and excitement and drive matches up with something that we can provide for them, then we'll make it happen. And mainly, like we limit that to people with um, mobility issues, physical mobility issues, and that has been just strict enough to only have people that could be really, really stoked about what we're doing. And then we include anybody who doesn't have like a physical disability but wants to participate, then we can include them as volunteers. If you can move around at full capability but you still want to go on a trip, then we'll include you on a trip with somebody that needs some extra hands moving stuff around or whatever the case may be. So we try and make it into a um, very uh,
User
inclusive kind of.
inclusive. Well, I think that's amazing.
Exactly.
And big kudos to you for launching that and having your fourth season coming up. And we're excited to get more involved with that too. Um, Adam, do you have anything you want to ask Tim or input into the interview?
Not in particular, but Tim, I'm always been really stoked to see how you handle your injury and your attitude and seeing what you've created. And almost everyone in the spinal cord injury community sort of returned to dirt now, and it's really cool to see what you're doing. And I really enjoy getting inspiration from seeing how you're living your life, man.
Yeah, and I just saw your interview in the Roaring Fork magazine too. So I am sure you're going to make a difference to many people's lives.
Oh yeah, that was that. Yeah. I appreciate you guys' kind words. Seriously. I mean, Adam, you were heard a little bit before me, and I remember Amanda giving me your phone number, and we ended up talking on the phone for a while and ended up like feeling like pretty close friends quickly. So, you know, that's something that has been repeated a couple times throughout my SCI journey. You know, that you meet somebody and you kind of just hit it off for coming from similar backgrounds and then being in a similar situation now. So I'm really stoked on what you guys are doing. I think this has huge potential to really help some people, and I think that if there's anything that I wish that Return to Dirt could do better, that I don't really expect we'll get any better at, it's stuff that you guys are going to be able to do. So it's perfect that I'll be able to turn people towards you that need, you know, more than just the hype outdoor factor, and they need, you know, um
The lifestyle and the mental and the spiritual and the just you can do this and here's this way I figured out how to pick up a fork. Like there's so many tips that you guys could be giving each other. They should be documented.
absolutely. And you guys putting it all in a central location and organizing it, that's going to make all the difference for a lot of people, I think, in the future. And um, give somebody who doesn't have, if they don't have their close knit like personal community, and they don't have the local community, then they can at least find community through you guys. And I think that that's definitely the most important thing to anybody. And then second most important is getting out and getting dirty.
Yeah, totally. Well, thank you so much. And we will be talking to you soon and we'll be posting this on the internet.
Cool. Well, send me the link. I'm stoked to see it, and I'm really proud of you guys for killing it. So keep it up.
All right. Take care, Tim. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Catch you guys later.
All right. See you soon, Tim.
See ya.